in town. You are tuned into Coffee with Jalal.
जी हाँ, सलाम सत आदाब एनियाली मदद। मैं आपका होस्ट जलाल आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर। आप सब देख रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं कॉफी जलाल ऑन रेडियो स्टेशन इन कैलगरी। अगर आप एडमिंटन में हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स रेडियो स्टेशन इन एडमिंटन, या तो इफ यू गाइस आर वाचिंग अस or watching me or watching us anywhere on YouTube, either in Canada, US, Pakistan, or anywhere else. And of course, anywhere else means because our next guest, he's from London, UK. Yes. So आज, it's a Saturday. It's about 2:30, 2:34 Calgary time, 4:30 Eastern time. Actually, actually, I'm supposed to have Vinita or she as our guest as well around 2 o'clock Calgary time. But she's got some emergency because, as you know, she's going for the Miss Canada Globe 2020 in Toronto. So she had to go and do something about that. So I think, because I know there are so many things that are happening, because I believe she's leaving next week. So she won't be able to join us, but we wish her all the best from our Calgary audience and viewers. Before we go on, as you know, the lockdown still continue. It's like a better part of the world. Like in Canada, we are still working from home. There are people are working from home, but we are trying to do our best as using a mask all the time. If you go out, 2 meters apart. School just started as well as of last week. So far so good. They have very strict rules in schools as well. So hopefully, we can beat this coronavirus. Wherever you are, so please do your part. Use your mask as much you can, so we can so then we don't spread the virus. And then 2 meters apart. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Stay home, and then as long as you are safe at home. So let's start our show for today. If you can invite your friends and family as well. So then because I know it's like a lot of things are like in Canada and US, or so it opened as well, so people are going to work, and it's a holiday, and it's a long weekend as well in Canada. It's a Victoria Day, so a lot of people, Labor Day, so people are out as well. So let's hope we can get as many viewers we can. And our जो अब तक जिन्होंने अभी तक शेयर कर लिया और कमेंट किया है, thank you so much. Our good friend, I can see Nami Jamal is already on. Thank you so much, and Anisha as well. So let me enter my next guest. Let me tell you about him. So, this is my first virtual meeting with him. I just read his bio, so what I posted on my Facebook post. So I got a reference from our good friend Amir Keshavji, because he was on our show as well quite a few times, and he does so many things for our students, including my kids as well. So there's this kind of contact as well in UK, and he had a lot of good things to say about him, about Mohammad Karim. And so let's find out, so let's get more details from him. Who is he and what does he do in UK? And then I think it'll be very inspirational for our young generation as well. So let me add him. Hello, Mohammad Karim. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us all the way from. Are you in London? UK?
Yeah, just outside of London.
Okay. So what's your time right now?
It's 9:37 here.
Okay, so we have about 7 hours apart, so you are ahead, 9:37. So let's start with you. Who's Mohammad Karim?
Right. So who am I? I am currently 19 years old. I'm an undergraduate at the University of Warwick, studying philosophy, politics, and law. And recently, I've really accelerated a little enterprise of mine called MMK Public Speaking, which trains children and adults how to better their communication and public speaking skills. In my spare time, I enjoy playing tennis, I enjoy running, and I'm a massive Arsenal fan, Arsenal FC in London, and also Federer in terms of tennis. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. So, Mohammed, so you are you from Pakistan? Like your parents are from Pakistan, or were you born in London?
So I was born in London, and my my parents were, my mum was born in Tanzania, my dad was born in Kenya, but
Okay.
originally and ethnically we're from India, so
Okay.
all over the
Okay.
world.
Yeah, yeah. So the how do you like? Do you have any from your parents? Did you get any kind of from like from Africa? Did you get any taste in your mouth? Like, do you like spicy food? Like, what do you like?
Yeah, so I love Indian food. Indian food is one of my favorite sort of types of food. In terms of East African food, we always go to Tanzania because my mum's parents live out there. So we go there sort of fairly regularly. And I have got accustomed to madafu, like coconut,
Yeah.
and other sort of traditional foods in Tanzania as well. But Indian is my favorite. Indian's my staple food.
Okay. Okay. Have you been to Pakistan at all?
I haven't been to Pakistan at all.
I bet you love to go to Pakistan because like Pakistani food and Indian food is almost same, but like Pakistan food, like the one I like, it's a little more spicier and hot, and that's what I like.
Right.
So that's really really good taste. So you are in London, like you are in UK, London, like let me say London. So how's the situation there right now because of the coronavirus?
So the situation here is, in terms of cases, we're seeing a little bit of a surge upwards, slight surge upwards. But in terms of deaths, they've come down quite significantly from what they were a couple of months ago. I haven't checked the latest figures, so I'm not sure what they were today. But I'm talking sort of a general average here. But in
Yeah.
terms of life, we still have to wear face masks when we go to shops. We don't have to wear it out and about. In terms of schools, children have to wear face masks in school. Things are getting back to normal. People are starting to break rules more so. So I guess things are normalizing slowly, but probably against government guidelines.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, as a student or as a youth, let me call you youth. So, did you ever imagine like we're gonna see this kind of situation in our life?
Not at all, actually. I remember sort of sitting back on New Year's Eve last year and thinking, 2020 is going to be the start of a decade. We're going to have a fantastic year ahead. And I guess the pandemic has come as a shock, and obviously a lot of lives have been taken. It's been unexpected. Businesses have suffered, but I feel that I still would say that it's been a good year.
Yeah.
It depends on how you take it and how you adapt to it.
Right, right, right. So, you're only 19 years old, but I was reading your bio. You like, mashallah, you did so many things already in your life. So tell us about your childhood. When you were growing up, did you like to read? You like the TV, politics, like sports? How was your childhood?
Yeah, good question. So, in terms of my childhood, I guess my parents would describe me as probably a little bit timid, shy. In terms of my interests, I guess, tennis and cricket had been in the family for a long time, and I enjoyed watching those sports. And early on, I started playing cricket and tennis. I dropped cricket sort of when I started secondary school and focused more on the tennis aspect. So those were sort of my passions growing up. In terms of other stuff, yeah, I guess there wasn't anything extraordinary that I did, which was anything different to any other kid growing up. So I had obviously a lovely childhood, brilliant upbringing, etc. And I guess I'm very very grateful for that. But nothing extraordinary compared to anyone else.
So I think like your parents probably proud of you because what you have achieved so far. So let's start with you. What when were like what was your first achievement? Like kind of then people started to notice you. What was that?
Um, I'd say actually there were two. One which was a personal achievement for me, which gave me the confidence to go on to do other things, and one which was an achievement which sort of established my name in a certain area, which then I flourished in. So in terms of the personal achievement, it was gaining my black belt in karate, and
Correct. Yes,
this
right.
happened 7 years ago now. So it had been a really sort of long journey and arduous journey. by the end of it, you know, there were times when I was very close to giving up, very close to quitting. And I guess sort of getting over the final line, jumping over the final hurdle was a real achievement for me because of the struggle that I'd been through in the previous years, getting up to that point. And so for me at that point, you know, doing karate, getting through the black belt, the actual day of the grading was incredibly stressful, I remember. But after that, I remember feeling a great sense of achievement. And that personally gave me a huge confidence boost inside. In terms of something which sort of established me on the map for something I flourished in later down the line was a public speaking competition at my school called Jalal Speaks. And I remember back in year 7, so when I was 11 years old, first year of secondary school, there was this competition and I entered it. And I was one of the finalists. I didn't win, but I sort of found my love and my passion for public speaking and communication from there. And ever since then, it was sort of building it up, I guess. But that was the arena where I really found my passion for communication, public speaking.
Yeah. Okay. So why karate? Like, did you have any fear from anyone else? Like,
no. So actually, I had absolutely terrible hand-eye coordination when I was younger. So I remember it probably took me a lot longer to ride a bike than the average person. I just didn't have that sense of hand-eye coordination. And so someone, I think, recommended to my parents that karate is actually quite good for disciplining you and also improving your hand-eye coordination. And that's why I signed up. Obviously, there are other benefits as well, fitness and others, but the primary purpose for me was to strengthen that hand-eye coordination.
And of course, you know, but like, you know, do you follow Bollywood, any music, Hollywood? What do you follow?
So, admittedly, I'm a huge Rahat Fateh Ali Khan fan.
Nice.
So I do enjoy his qawwalis, and yeah, that actually a huge passion of mine, listening to some of his qawwalis and songs.
Oh, nice. So, you know, like about your public speaking, because you know, when I was reading your bio, so you are involved in so many things. So you know, someone new who's watching you right now, listening to you right now, what do you want to say about public speaking? Like, you know, let's say 3 to 5 important things to start with.
Sure. So the one thing, the way I'd start is that I think communication is one of the most important skills we need to have in our lives. Right. And I'm not even talking about public speaking, I'm talking about communication here, because I'm having a conversation with you now that relies on good communication skills. You have had probably many conversations today that also relies on good communication skills. But one thing to note is that we're never formally taught how to communicate in school. You might have competitions or you might have debating, but that's always on the side. It's always an extracurricular activity. So our practice for communication comes through trial and error. The more we have conversations with people, maybe the better we get at communication, but it still needs that process of refinement. And I guess that's why I started my company, MMK Public Speaking, to help give people that opportunity to refine their public speaking skills. In terms of tips, were you looking for some practical advice in terms of public speaking, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, you know, so, you know, let's say, like, you know, if someone is growing up right now, you know, let's say he's like kind of in a grade 5 or 6, and of course, you know, like communication is really, if you are good in communication, you can deal with a lot of things to start
Absolutely.
with. So those tips, because I know, because my daughter, I sent her to the speech classes here in, like, you know, one of the university, so just to get more kind of the handle on the language, because I know, like, you know, they were born here, their English is good anyways, but still they have to get few things, like a few controls on it, so whenever Absolutely. They write any essay or whenever they talk to someone.
Absolutely. So I think that the first tip I'd give is that the start is the most important part. And you've got to start strongly, because some studies suggest that the average attention span is 12 seconds. And especially with our generation and the attention spans going down, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that that's just the way things are. You need to grab people's attention quickly. So 12 seconds is all you've got necessarily to be able to grab people's attention. If you start well also, then the speech will follow in that manner. Because if you start weak or you start with room for improvement, it'll always be in the back of your mind that I could have started off better. and that will always play with you going forward. And so I think you've got to start strong. And the way that I start is starting with SAS. I've got an acronym, and SAS stands for either shock people, either start with an analogy, which is a personal experience, either start with a statistic when you're giving a speech or you're trying to introduce a topic, or start with a saying and a quote, which is 2 lines maybe that someone famous has said, which is going to encapsulate what you're going to say going forward. So I think the start is absolutely important. It's pivotal when you're having a conversation or when you're giving a speech. The second tip I give is, even before you start thinking about what you're going to say, if you have the opportunity, research who your audience is going to be. So that includes who is in my audience, what's their demographic, are they male or female, are they young or old, are they from a certain area in the world. You also need to find out, well, what exactly do they want to hear? Because you've got to give people content that they want to hear, that they're not going to fall asleep with. And the third question that you've got to ask yourself is, well, why would they want to listen to me? What can I offer them? So if you can answer who is in the audience, why would they want to listen to me, and what exactly they want to hear, those 3 questions will help unlock the answers to how you're going to keep them engaged. I think the third tip is you've got to have a balance between emotion and actual intellect content. So too often people focus on trying to intellectually stimulate people, throwing out facts, trying to impress people with all they know. Too little, or it's not done very often, people try and find common ground. So rather than trying to impress people, I think it's important when you're having a conversation with them, when you're speaking to them, try and find some common ground as opposed to trying to impress them. Because if you find common ground, then you'll connect with them on a human level. So you need to have a balance between intellectual information and emotional information as well. And emotional information can best be done through storytelling, as an example. So the third tip is have that right balance between intellect and emotion so that you can connect with them on a human level. The fourth tip I would give is the end is incredibly important as well. The way I always like to think about it is the ending needs to be like, when you go to an ice cream shop and you get more than 1 scoop of ice cream, I don't know about you, but I tend to get my favorite scoop at the bottom. And the reason is because I want the final taste when I walk out of the ice cream store to be of that favorite scoop. So in the same way as that, the ending should be the final taste that people get in their minds when they stop listening to you. So that's got to be strong as well. And I guess the final tip I give is that English is not the only language that you're speaking when you're giving a speech. Your body is a language too. Some people say it's more important than the language that you communicate with, whether that be English or any other language. So remember, English or whatever language you speak in is not the only language that you're speaking. Your body is a language too.
Yes, I love your last point. It's very, very valid, because I know more often we forget the body language. And that's how the viewers notice that, how sharp you are, even though you're talking, but your whole body is talking as well. So I think this is a great point. Great point. So nowadays, like our students, the one who are moving to the university or next semester, or when they're choosing their new, you can say, medical college or masters. So of course, look, they have to write essays as well. It's very important right now. That's how I think you can say, they move to their next next college or next university, because everyone goes through it. So I don't know, in your university, so is that the same case? When you're writing an essay, has to be whatever you are. Let's say you are speaking, or your speech, like you said, your end has to be the your best part. So when you're writing an essay, is that the same thing?
Yeah. So interestingly, sometimes I do view essays as a speech. So a speech that I'm actually writing down. It depends really on the context of the essay and what I'm actually talking about. Because sometimes if I was to deliver a speech on a certain topic, it would be quite different from me writing an essay. But sometimes if the topic lends itself nicely to me being able to speak more freely about it, then actually the essay flows much better if you can read it as a speech. So I guess it depends on the context, on the question, on the style that the certain topic requires you to answer it with. But if there's a little bit more flexibility, and you're not necessarily marked on style but content, then I really like using my speech writing skills in my essay. However, at the end of the day, when it comes to essay writing, some subjects prefer you to have a certain style. And if you want to achieve the best, then you have to follow that style. So I guess it depends on the context as to when I use speech writing in essay style as well.
Yeah. Then, like I believe you follow like politics very closely as well. So tell us about your politics like interest. When did you start kind of following that? Because I know there are so many in last 2 to 4 years. There are so many changes in the UK about the prime minister. There are so many people are in and out. So then when did you start kind of the following them?
So I started back in 2015, and I was quite lucky to start back then, because since then, as you said, we've had 2015 general election, we've had Brexit, 2016 mayoral election, we've had a change in prime minister 3 times. We've had a most recent election with Boris coming in. So it was a fantastic time to get into politics then, because we've had so many events. We've had more political events really in the last sort of 4 years than had happened in the previous 20. So the reason why I got into politics was I was actually, my dad had signed me up to go and canvass for Sadiq Khan in London, who was an MP at the time and standing for re-election. He's now the mayor of London. And I was sort of invited to canvass with him to post leaflets through people's letterboxes in order to encourage them to vote for him. And that was when I got introduced to politics as a art or as a subject. And since then, I think I've always stayed engaged, whether that be reading the news on a daily basis, especially the politics section, or it be inviting members of parliament to my school, or having work experience in the political sector. Every part of my life at the moment and from that moment onwards always had a different angle to it, because I always looked at things from a political lens. So that was the catalyst or the event really, which was a springboard for me to have politics as a passion.
Oh, nice. So, nowadays, being a South Asian, let me tell like we are kind of a South Asian in a foreign country. So, like your age or youth in the South, like in London. So, what do they do normally? What's their day looks like before and after university?
So, in terms of at university, depends. So, 9 a.m. is the first time that you can possibly have a lecture. Obviously, depending on the day, it depends what time you start your day, but 9 a.m. is the earliest that you'd start your day. The latest lecture that you could possibly have is at around 6 or 7. So lectures sort of last an hour long, and then you've got seminars as well. So the day you've got to keep sort of free between 9 in the morning to 7 in the evening. At certain points in that day, you could have some academic stuff. In terms of outside of uni, then you've got a number of different activities that you can do, a number of different societies that you can get involved in, a number of different sports clubs that you can get involved in. So I know that in the previous year, one of the societies I got involved in had a 5-a-side football team. So who used to play casually every Friday night when they could get the numbers. So I joined that. And had a lot of fun. I hadn't played football actually in about 2 years. For the last 2 years, A-levels got a bit busy, so I didn't play, but I got back into football. And sort of sports is huge at uni. Societies are huge at uni. Societies vary. They can be academic. They can be sort of your interest. They can be sports-based. They can be, anything you want. If you want to form a society that's not already there, the doors are open for you to do so.
Yeah, and recently you were nominated as the finalist for the TransferWise 20 under 20 as one of the top young entrepreneurs in Europe. Wow, how did this thing happen?
So this happened through an application, and the application was you had to present in a minute why your company has a future, or why you think that your organization / enterprise will be beneficial for people going on into the future. And you only had a minute to do that. So that's what the application was based off. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. No, yeah. So this award, what kind of award it is? Is it like the whole Europe?
So anyone, it's a European-wide competition. I'm yet to find out what the award is because the ceremony hasn't happened yet, but I'll be waiting in anticipation.
Oh, nice. So being in London, so like like you are so close to so many. Basically, you are in Europe. So what's the competition? Because I as there are so much competition between the students to go to the next university and college. So you are in the middle of the Europe, basically. So our you can say our like a South Asian students. So what do they do? Do they go through through some different classes, different courses to get better, or do they go back home and then try to help their family? What do they do normally?
In terms of their daily life, or
daily life. Yeah, daily life.
I guess South Asian students. So the area I'm from, there's the demographic isn't so that there are that many South Asian students, but from the South Asian students around my area, it's pretty typical in terms of anyone else. It's not necessarily different to anyone else. Their normal day sort of consists of working, coming home, studying, coming home, and then going to do something recreational or leisurely. So it's not that much different to anyone else, I don't think.
Okay. Do you remember your first speech when you did?
Yes, I do, and it was an absolute nightmare, or absolute shambles. So I had to give a speech in front of an assembly of people or a crowd of people, and I completely forgot what I was doing. I was just in this sense of paralysis because there were so many people that, at that point rationality escapes you, and I was just left there dumbfounded. But actually, after that, again, I was very, very close to giving up. There's been so many points in my life I've been very, very close to giving up, and luckily through that time, it's been the likes of parents and people around me who have kept me in the game, and that's really helped me to build up this sense of resilience, I guess. Throughout life, there have been points that, as I said, very, very close to just not pursuing anything further with that activity. But I guess if I hadn't have done so, then doors wouldn't have opened otherwise. And actually, that's one of the reasons I play tennis, if I might add. Tennis is a fantastic sport mentally. So, you could play excellent tennis, but you could lose the set 6-1, 6-2, because the other person's better. And, the mental game of every time you lose a point, to bounce back and treat it as the start again, I think has taught me a lot over the last few years, that every time you come over a stumbling block, you just restart back to the beginning. And that's what every point in tennis does. So that's why I enjoy playing tennis. Sometimes I tell my parents that I play tennis more for the mental aspect than the physical aspect.
Right, yeah. And so nowadays, because of the pandemic, there are so many people are going through the mental health issues as well. So, and of course, because what are they saying as well? Because there are mostly people, they don't have a job, they're home or they're working from home. So there's increase in domestic violence as well. Because everything comes under the mental health, because how strong you are. So if I ask you to talk about mental health for a few minutes, if you can.
Absolutely. I think, as you rightly said, that mental health has always been an issue, but more recently, with people being forced to stay at home, case of domestic violence have obviously increased, and mental health has worsened in some cases. I think in terms of mental health, obviously I can't comment on it from a medical perspective because I'm not qualified to do so, or even a therapeutic perspective because I'm not qualified to do so. But from a personal perspective, I think that the things that really help me to keep mentally fit is related firstly to keeping physically fit. I think if you can find an activity to do, whether that be running, walking, swimming, or something that you can have some alone time with, which also helps you keep physically fit. I think that goes a long way to you keeping mentally well as well, because ultimately these activities give you a little bit of time to seclude yourself from everyone else and recalibrate. I tend to find. So I think it's important to have that time away and also recuperate in that time. The second thing I'd say is that with mental health, it's quite easy. A lot of people might feel low and about themselves because of a certain failure that they've encountered in their lives, or as a result of something that hasn't gone their way. And I think one quote for me, which summarizes this brilliantly, is this quote from Rudyard Kipling, who was a poet, and he came up with the poem "If." Within it, he said that you've got to have the ability to treat failure and success as two imposters just the same. So whenever you come across a failure in your life, you should always have that ability or the tenacity to bounce back up from that failure. But also when you hit success, you should always be humble about it and come back down to a position of normality. Because if you let success go on for too long, then when you do encounter a failure, the drop will be a lot more steep than if you bring yourself back down to a level of normality. But also you want to bring yourself up from a failure back to that level of normality. And I like to call it that equilibrium. So you're never too high or you're never too low. I think ultimately a lot of some mental health issues can be caused by this feeling of not knowing how to bounce back from failure or from sadness or defeat.
Yeah. So, because of the pandemic, as you know, the whole world is online right now, especially social medias, they are rocking, like Facebook, YouTube, they are going out of their mind. So do you use social media for your benefit?
Of course, yeah. So for the business, actually, social media has been the platform to do things. I think you've got to embrace these positive tools. I think social media is an incredibly positive tool because it allows me to connect to people from all around the world. Instagram is my main platform of social media, so I'll use this as an opportunity to shout it out. If you're on Instagram, follow at MMK Public Speaking. That's the Instagram handle. But you see, Instagram has allowed me to connect with people from 4 continents. I think if I would have started the enterprise earlier on, when Instagram wasn't necessarily such a big thing, maybe 8-9 years ago, it would have been very difficult to connect with people from across the world. And I think Instagram has been the tool which has allowed me to connect with people from 4 different continents, which is ultimately the reach of our client base, from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, and from North America as well. So you've got to harness this app which allows you to connect to people from all around the world in just 2 or 3 clicks.
Yeah. So nowadays, kids, when they grow up, they are playing with a tablet or they are playing games, and they are basically divide their attention to schools and everything going on the side. So what do you want to say, maybe any tips for the parents, what do we do as a parent, so so they are balanced and they are not getting behind in their school?
Absolutely. I think that's an incredibly good question, because there's ultimately this vibe which goes around about our generation being too invested in tech and too having our heads down too much in the worlds of our phones and tablets and computers, etc. I think our generation is a generation where we're not going to know anything different from computers and phones, and so the future will be on computers, phones, and tablets. And so I think it's really important for parents to invest their children in learning more about sort of computer skills and phones and etc. and technology in general, because that is going to be the platform off which we do most of our work, that we live our lives. And I think one of the issues, or one of the misconceptions which comes from our generation being labeled as one who uses our phone and tablet and computer too much, is maybe from an older generation who didn't have it their way. And when they didn't have it that way, and when they see this change, they feel maybe threatened because of the fact that it's not what they were brought up with. And ultimately, I guess at the end of the day, they want the best for their grandchildren or children, in the sense that they want their children to have the upbringing that maybe they had because they knew or they know it worked for them. But ultimately, that might not be the best thing for their children. And so I think, firstly, they've got to really invest in technology and make sure that their children do know how to use technology well, optimally, and use it to the best of their ability. At the same time, though, you mentioned balance. I think balance is incredibly important as well, because they can't spend too much time on it, because there are other things in life. Recreational sport cannot be done online. Communicating with people over the dinner table cannot be done online. Some of these things will never be substituted by online activity. So where things can be enhanced by using stuff online, by all means, go for it. Online tuition, online schooling, in some cases, go for it. But in some cases, also detach yourself from that social media.
Yeah. So, like, you play sports as well, as you said, tennis and swimming. So how important it is for the young parents to make sure their kids are involved in any sports or any activity outside the house, like swimming, as you said, or soccer, because I know, or like here is hockey, ice hockey, we play in Canada. So how much important it is for the young parents to make sure their kids are involved in outdoor activities.
Sport is such an important tool, I think, for three levels. For the physical level, because keeping fit is incredibly important. The levels of obesity, I know in the UK, I'm not sure about Canada, are going through the roof at the moment, because the levels are increasing. And I think it's really important for people to keep physically fit. Because there is a correlation between your mental state of mind and your physical state of mind. So firstly, sport helps you keep fit. Sport is also brilliant on a social level as well. The people you meet, especially if you're playing team sports like football, rugby, etc., ice hockey, I guess as well. The people you meet, they open up so many networks for you as well. The friend circle that you have at sport is probably one of the closest friend circles you'll have, because you get to know them on a different level. Or someone on a sports field is totally different from someone on a day-to-day sort of interaction. So you get to know them from a different angle. So the social aspect is really important with sports as well. Physical, social. And the third aspect I'd say with sport is that mental toughness that it gives you. Each sport has that own level. So as I said, tennis gives you that ability to restart again. I think there are other sports which teach you other skills as well. Patience, perseverance, the ability to cope with defeat. So that mental strength that sports gives you is really important as well. So don't only think of sports from a physical perspective. It's very important that you keep physically fit, but it also has these other two dimensions as well, which I think makes it really powerful.
Yeah. Well said. So what's the future for Mohammad Karim now? You are only 19. You have long life to go. So what's the plan in next 5 to 10 years?
The only thing that I sort of keep on telling myself, I never like to look ahead. I never like to necessarily look behind as well, because as I said, it's about keeping that state of equilibrium. The only thing that I sort of will say to you is that I'd like to carry on doing what I enjoy. So in terms of future plans, there are some not necessarily concrete, but the one thing that is a guarantee is that I'd like to carry on doing something that I enjoy.
Yeah, and something just came in my mind. When you are doing something, let's say you start a new project. So is this important to keep your eye at the end? What's the whatever your goal is, or you just go with the flow, try your best, and don't worry about the result?
I think it's really important to have an end goal in mind, but that end goal shouldn't be the main thing that you think about, because if you think about the end goal, then your motive will be achieving that end goal, and you might not necessarily gain anything else from that experience. I think, as they say, sometimes you've got to enjoy the journey. And if you do enjoy the journey, it'll be more fruitful than the destination itself. But it's important to have a destination in mind. Going from A to B, if I was just at A and I didn't have a sense of direction, I could be going all over the place. The sense of getting from A to B is important. But also, having that you want to get to be at the back of your mind is important, but the journey itself will open up so many other doors and be beneficial in other ways that I think whilst it's important to know where you're going, it shouldn't be the sole focus of your activity.
Yeah, well said, well said. So, I think you were on the BBC TV as well. So how was your experience?
So the BBC TV happened last year, and it was in the lead up to the 2019 general election, which is the most recent one where Boris Johnson became our Prime Minister. And during that interview, I was talking about being young, being Muslim, and being involved in politics. So that interview was all about figuring out, the different challenges that young Muslims face in the UK, figuring out how the different parties are going to tackle those challenges and address those challenges. And so I had a really good time. I was with three other young people, four of us in total, and we were from different ends of the political spectrum. But I guess the one thing, or the three things that we had in common were we were young, we were political, and we were Muslim. So we had a really nice interview between the four of us.
Nice, nice. So my next question, if you don't have to answer, don't answer, right? Because there are so many, there are so many talks as well, theories as well about the coronavirus. People saying it's all political behind the scene. Do you have any comment on it? If you don't want to answer, that's fine too.
I think that it's important to understand that the coronavirus has been proven to kill so many people globally. And I feel if there's anyone who wants to downplay it as something which doesn't exist, or something which is made up to satisfy a political agenda, I think they should sometimes put themselves in the position of what happens if they had the coronavirus or they lost a family member from the coronavirus.
Yes.
Maybe then their answer will be different.
Okay, sounds good. So, how was your experience today here? Did you enjoy?
Absolutely loved it. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So, hopefully we can get you back again. And if you have any next project, anything coming up, please let me know. Then we can have you back, and so we can share with our viewers and listeners here in Canada.
That'd be excellent. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So before I let you go, what's your last message or comment?
Last message or comment is please check out my website. It's mmkarim.com. On there, you'll find a number of different resources, video clips with different people, interviews, etc., which might help you in your communication journey as well. And there are also some courses that we offer on public speaking and communication, both week-long crash courses and weekly classes aimed at both children and adults. In fact, 40% of our clients are children or young adults under the age of 18. 60% are adults in the working profession. So it's open to everyone. Check it out. You might benefit from one of these courses. And there's also information on how to contact the organization as well. Awesome.
There is a comment from Anisha, Mohammad Karim. Wow, you have a very good communication skill. I'm impressed with your speech and expression. Stay blessed.
Thank you so much.
So you are the master, because I think the way you talk, the way you use your words is just amazing. I can tell you can teach anyone you can. I think this is great. Yeah, and thank you so much for your time. And I know it's a late night in the UK now, so thank you so much for your time and your support. And just keep doing it, whatever you're doing it. It's great. And inshallah, we'll get you back again if you have something, new project, anything. We still love to share with our people in Canada.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karim, and all the best to you and your family.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. So guys, one and only Mohammad.